Shalom, shalom. Boker Tov, Hazoraim Tovim, We Erev Tov, Havarim, We Mishpacha. Ani Ach Ben Yahu. This is my wife, Bashua Ishet Ben Yahu.
Shalom, shalom.
Today I want to go over a particular subject that keeps coming up. My Isha, she listens to social media. I'm not one that's into social media. However, when she plays social media, I hear things going on because I do have ears that I can hear. So lately, I've been hearing a lot of times brothers mentioning that the man was made in the image of Elohim, but the woman was made in the image of man. Meanwhile, what they're saying is basically that they have power over these women because the woman was not made in the image of Elohim. However, I would like to take a further look in this and question that doctrine to see if it's true according to Scripture, not according to what I'm saying or what any other man says, but according to what Scripture says. So let's go to it. Okay, here's what it says in the Hebrew. Zed Sefer Toladoth Adam Bayom Bero Elohim Adam Bidmoth Elohim Asa Otho Zakar Unkeba Bara'am Wayibarek Atham Wayikra Eth Shamam Adam Bayom Hibar'am. So basically in English, Zed Sefer Toledot Adam. This is the book or this is the scroll of the generations of Adam. Bayom Bara Elohim Adam. In the day Elohim created Adam. Bidmoth Elohim Asa Otho. In the likeness of Elohim, he made him. Then it goes on to say, Zakar Keba Bera'am. So male and female, he created them. Wayiberech Atham. And blessed them. Wayikra et Shamam Adam. And he called them Adam. Bayom Hibar'am. In the day he created them. So what this is telling us is, first of all, he created both male and female in his image. Not only did he create them in his image, both male and female are called Adam, are human, mankind. I don't see how you can twist this. Even if you take a look into the English, you'll come up with the same thing. Let me pull it up in English. It says, and this is the scriptures version. This is the book of the genealogy of Adam. In the day that Elohim created him, he made him in the likeness of Elohim. Male and female, he created them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day that they were created. Now, what you got to understand, before a certain period of time, the books did not have chapters and verses. So this would be all one piece. It wouldn't be, okay, this is what this verse says, and then this verse says something else. No, it's all the same thing. It's all together. So he created Adam, and Adam happened to be both the male and female. He created them and he blessed them, and he called their name Adam in the day that they were created. So to say that a woman is not created in the image of man is fallacy. It's false. There's nothing true about it. Um, I'm also hearing another thing going around, thinking people talking about Greek, English, abstract thinking compared to Hebrew, concrete thought. But however, these people that are saying it are people who don't want to take the time to sit back and learn the language, and which is part of the culture. If you're going to say you're a part of the culture, you should learn the language. So in that, they use these Greek terms to talk about how Israelite society was patriarchal society, saying that it's not a democracy, it's patriarchal. However, neither one of those are true. Yes, it's not democratic, nor is it patriarchal. Israel was a theocratic, if we're going to use Greek term, theocratic society. a society in which Elohim ruled, not the father. The father, of course, rules his house. He was in charge of his home, but it was according to the rules that Elohim set out. The man should not have rules separate or that's contrary to what Elohim has. So with all this patriarchal society rule and all this, that's a false doctrine. However, if that's someone's halakha, if that's the way they walk and that's the way they believe, then so be it. Have at it, horse. I have nothing against your halakha, but don't push it as if it's Torah or that it is cultural when there is no cultural aspect of that in Israel. Not at all. Never was. And that's about all I have to say. Do you have anything you wanted to say to the sisters at all?
Yes, sir, I do. Just to piggyback on what Maish was saying, in reference to the sisters, because I don't address men, I address the women. There's also a teaching along that lines where it's believed that as soon as Hawa, or who we know as Eve, was created, that Adam was supposed to rule over her upon creation. What I'm hearing on social media and on YouTube and whatnot, that Elohim, or as they may say God or the Most High Yah, created man, woman, and man was to rule over her. That too is a fallacy, the way it's coming out. When Hawa was created, it wasn't for Adam to rule over her harshly or with an iron fist or what have you. And what is being used to justify this false teaching is Bereshit 3:16. And my issue is going to pull that up.
Pull it up in English first.
Okay, where it says, to the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow and conception, bring forth children in pain, and your desire is for your husband, and he does rule over you. Now, if we look at the words rule over you, if we look at it in the Hebrew, we go to Bereshit 3:16. And this is important to see things in context of the Hebrew, because we are Hebrew culture, right? So it will behoove you, as Ma'is said, to learn the language. So there's little or no room for mistranslations. And if we see here on the screen where the cursor is pointing, it says Yimshal Bach. And that's where it's translated, he shall rule over her. But if you look at it below in English, it says he shall rule in you. Okay? And with that, the first word that he's pointing to, where you see the yod, the mem, the sheen, and the lamet, where it says yim shal, the last three letters, the mem, the sheen, and the lamet, is mashal. And mashal means to guide, to direct, to govern. It doesn't say rara, which is resh, dalet, and hey. And that word means to subjugate, to have dominion over, to rule over, in pretty much a harsh way. And so it doesn't say that. So again, that's a mistranslation. If we can look at Rada, I think you had that up somewhere.
Yeah. So as she's saying this word memshal, it says yemshal. It says mem shin lamed. These three radicals here is a root word also for the word mishlei. Mishlei is the name of the book of Proverbs. So mishlei is Proverbs of something, you know. So this would be Proverbs, mishal. So Proverbs are not used to downtrodden you. It's not to beat you down, but the sayings in Proverbs should give you some sort of idea of how your life should be done or ran. Okay, so let's go to the this is the Strong's H7287, and this is the word she's speaking of, Rada. This word is not hit there where it says that he shall rule over you. Radat means to have dominion, to prevail against, to reign, to tread down, to subjugate. This is what Radah means. And Memshal does not really look. Let's look up in the Hebrew so we could see that Proverbs is the book of Mishlei, which is the same root as Yimshal. Remember, the Mem, Shin, Lamed is the root word. So if we go to Proverbs, verse 1, chapter 1, excuse me, verse 1, we see the first word, Mem, Shin, Lamed, the root Mashal. So it's Mishlei is the word Mishlei or Proverbs, as you see here. It's just the masculine plural construct. So it says Mishlei Shalomo. So this goes with that. So it's the Proverbs of Shalomo. Ben David Melech Israel. So these are the proverbs. Once again, we have the same root word, Mem Shin Lamed, that you find also in Bereshit 3:16. And this is talking about governing something, not to rada or roll over with the iron fist.
Okay. Did you show them Radah?
Oh, I thought I pulled, yeah, rada, I did show rada here.
Okay.
Rada, to tread down, to subjugate. And for those who want to use the Strongs, which I'm not a fan of the Strongs, I rather use the BBD or some other source other than Strongs to get an understanding of what the Hebrew is actually saying. If you want to know what the actual translation should be, look for the italicized word. It's opposite of the KJV Bible, where if something's italicized, you know that it's something that's been added. Well, in the Strong, if you see an italicized word, that would be more or less the correct translation of the word. So Radah means to tread down or to subjugate. Then it says specifically crumble off, to make, to come to, make, to have dominion, prevail against, reign, bear, make, to roll over, stuff like that. But the key word is to subjugate. This is the type of rule Radai is. Mishlei is not that type of rule. It means to govern.
And a lot of women who ascribe to this teaching, when you see them on social media and when you hear them talk, it's if they are subjugated by the men. They're being taught that men and women aren't equal, that men is above, women are below, men are the masters. And to me, and that's subjugation. You know, it's not what Elohim intended from the beginning.
It's not what Yahuah meant at all.
Yes, there was the fall, and yes, we have to, pay for the transgressions that both Adam and Hawa committed. However, it doesn't mean that a woman is to be subjugated to her husband or to the men in her assembly or community. That is unequivocally false. And any man that ascribes to that teaching really needs to check himself and really needs to humble himself, because it's not about him. Ultimately, it's not about him. It's not about her ultimately either, but it's about Yahuah. And the way that you please Yahuah ultimately, it's not buying land in our captivity. It's not about building communities. It's not about polygyny, because I hear a lot of that going around too. It's about fearing Elohim and keeping his commandments or keeping Torah. And we can find that in Koheleth or Ecclesiastes 12:13. That is the whole duty of man, fearing Elohim and keeping the commandments. All that other stuff is just extra, and it's halakha. It has absolutely nothing to do with the Torah.
And this is what the Mashiach totally was against. He was against the halakha of the Sadducees and Pharisees. This is why he stated, you do make void the commandments of Elohim by the traditions of men, or by the traditions of your elders. What the reason he's saying that is because they had certain halakas that they placed above the commandments of Elohim. So, like the whole thing, when they said, just your Talmudim or your disciples do not um, eat bread with clean hands or with washed hands. That is something that's Talmudic. There's a certain way that you have to wash your hands and pray at the same time before you eat. That is not in the Torah whatsoever. So when you come up with different things, only thing you're doing is you're coming up with your own Torah. You're coming up with your own instructions. If that's the way your congregation works, then so be it. Let your congregation work that way, and you can walk in the way of your congregation. But it doesn't make it Torah. So don't make it seem as though because someone is not walking the way that you do, that they're wrong. You know, first thing you need to do if you're going to say your Hebrew, learn the language. Step your game up. Don't sit there and say that, oh, you're wrong because your understanding or you got this wrong, you got that wrong. How can you say someone who can actually read the language is wrong, but your understanding is right? And don't come to me with the Lashon Kadash, because Lashon Kadash is not Hebrew in any way, shape, or form. You can try to form all the sentences you want in Lashon Kadash, but if you never studied the Semitic language, it would make no sense. So with that, do you have anything else to say before we close out?
I think we've covered all bases in this video here.
Okay, and with that, as I always say, the closing of my videos, Be'ozne Kasela Te Dabir Ki Yabuz Lesikam Alecha. Shalom, shalom.
So